Hello and welcome to this episode of the midierror Meets interview series, where we speak to all kinds of people who work in sound and music. On the show this time we've got Jürgen from JOMOX. JOMOX have been in the business for 30 years, making some really incredible music equipment, which has been instrumental to the techno scene, to electronica scene, used by artists like Aphex Twin, Depeche Mode. We talk about who uses his gear later. Jürgen started out modifying 909s and other musical equipment before moving on to his first product, the AlphaBase, back in 1996. He's also released the MBase, the XBase, the Moonwind, the Sunsyn, Resonator Neuronium, the T-Resonator, many influential pieces of gear which we talk about. You can support Sonic State's work on Patreon. We also have YouTube memberships which you can join if you prefer that platform. And stick around until the end and I will recommend an interview which I think you will enjoy. But let's get into the chat with Jürgen, and the first thing I asked him was about his studio in Berlin.
Hello guys, I'm in Berlin, in an area that's called West End. Probably you have the same area in London too. There's a famous song, West End Girls, you know, Pet Shop Boys. Mm-hmm. Finally I moved here like 6 years ago.
Yeah, and how has your workspace changed over the years? I know you started in around 1996, 97.
Right.
How has your workspace changed since then over the years?
Initially, we did some service for musicians, you know, maintenance. And I was together with 4 guys and we started extended in the early 1990s. After we have worked at a big local store as a technician, you know. And at that time, I learned a lot about synthesizers and the deep electronics of synthesis. And because I was studying electrical engineering, and finally I could find the bridge between music. I used to play guitar in a rock band, a pop band, you know, and electronics. Of course, I knew about the technology of synthesizers, but I haven't been a keyboarder, so I was not too much into that. But when we were working at that local store, a music store, it was called Sound and Drumland at the days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I started there in 1989. That was right before the wall fell down, you know.
Yeah, and how did you, because you studied
electrical
at
engineering.
The technical uni, electrical engineering.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, did you have an intention when you studied that? Did you have an intention of where you wanted to be, like what you wanted to do with that qualification?
Actually, yes. I was always interested in audio, electronics. But not particularly in drum machines or synthesizers, but in general in audio electronics, for sure, because I was much into music. I learned guitar and I was a Beatles fan back then, of course. Yeah, and I have a baby friend, and we started playing and yelling out in the basement, you know. So my father came down and said, "Wow, what you doing here?" And and even when I was 16, I was building amps. You know, I have built a guitar amp back then. I still have it. Wow. It's so funny. And I used it in the bands and stuff like that, you know, and made weird constructions, you know, because I had an old tube-based tape recorder, a very old one, an Huang tape recorder from the 1950s, and I used the tube preamps as a guitar preamp, and that sounded really weird. And as the amplifier had an old from a record player, from an old amplifier based on germanium transistors, and that sounded really cool. So that was kind of stuff where I started to get into music electronics, when I was
Wow.
still a young man. Yeah, when I was 15, 16, I started building stuff. And then after school, I decided to study electrical engineering. But, this is a lot of mathematics, a lot of, theory, and I used to work in some companies, and this is the exact opposite of music, the exact opposite of being creative. I was soldering as a student job. I was soldering, heaps of Eurorack cards that were used for measurement for fuel stations and stuff like that. So nothing to do
Oh,
with
wow.
music at all. So in the late 80s, I was glad to find the connection, and that was when I started to work as a freelance technician in a local music store, which was pretty famous at the time. All the big Berlin-based musicians and stars went there.
Awesome. So you got to meet the people using the gear
Sure,
as well
I
as
did.
getting inside it.
Yeah,
Great. And where did you learn the skills to make your own amplifier? Where did that knowledge come from?
I learned it myself. Autodidactically. Okay, I got some building kits from my parents. That were when I was like 10. There I learned a lot. That were very sophisticated building kits, building block kits. Uh, Probably you don't know them. It's a German brand, Electroman. Electroman was that called, where you can build up motors and relays and stuff like that. And later on, an electronics kit from Philips for kids. Yeah, that was in the mid 1970s. When I learned it.
Fantastic. Because I know that in the UK and probably in the US, there was a magazine called Electronics Today,
Yeah.
which used to publicly share how to make a synthesizer.
Okay.
And for example, the Powertran Transcendent 2000, which was used by Joy Division, they always talk about the fact that they made their own synthesizer in the early days of Joy Division.
Okay,
and it was from this magazine called Electronics Today.
Okay, yeah, I know that. We had a similar thing in Germany that was called Elrad and Elector. Elector had also guitar circuits and the Formant synthesizer, which was very, very big at the time. Maybe you heard about it. The Formant, from the early 1980s, and that was also part of the magazines I read a lot. And I read about the theory and that in the early 1980s as well. But
amazing,
because I haven't been a keyboarder myself. I wish to have, but I wasn't. So I didn't go too deep into the synthesizer thing, But later on in 1985, I built up a little microcontroller board that was called Junior Computer at the time, And with that machine, I was already studying at the university and had some commilitones or colleagues, that were into. They could program the ROMs, and they helped me a bit, and then I built up this junior computer, and with the port bits of that, I triggered some self-developed gyrator instruments at the time that I found also in these magazines. So actually, this was my first drum machine. I could program some little beats, with a binary code and poking in the bits of one byte, and it was really making some beats. The snare drum sounded cool at the time, but I don't think if I have any recordings left, maybe they're gone. I don't know whether it's the thing itself. I throw away many years ago, but it worked. It sounded nice. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And you also made a harmonic distortion, I believe.
Yeah. Oh. Should I bring this? I have it here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, grab it. Yeah, let's have a look.
I mean, sorry. Sorry, you can't hear this, but can you see this?
Oh, is it built into the guitar?
It's built into the guitar.
Oh, wow.
I wired a hex pickup myself, and made some electronics that would fit into the Stratocaster,
Fantastic.
a 6-fold germanium diode-based distortion circuitry. Yeah. Amazing. And the funny thing is, this still works. I built this in 1988.
Wow.
I used it a lot with my former band, It has a real nice sound. It's between something soft distortion and like a guitar synth. Sounds in between. Yeah. I can't show you now because I would have to take the pedal and connect it to the audio, which is a little pain, but it still works.
Amazing. And why?
It sounds great.
I'm interested to know. Yeah, tell us why you built it into the guitar and not as a pedal. Like you went directly to the instrument.
No, the thing was, the idea was, I raised up in the 1970s, and those polyphonic solos, those guitar solos, that sounds so amazing. When 2 or 3 distorted guitars play together harmonic chords, because you don't have these intermodulation distortions. If you have just a distorted guitar, every string modulates the other string, and there's a lot of intermodulation, bad harmonics. But there in the rock and roll, this is something you like to have. But I love the sound of polyphonic distorted guitars a lot, so I thought, okay, what if I pick up every string separately and run it through a separate distortion circuitry, and that's it. That's actually how Roland built the GR300 guitar synthesizer that Police and all those early bands used.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's a harmonic distortion with each string has its own harmonic
and
distortion.
after this distortion, they are mixed together again, and then you can run it through in the effects, and it sounds really smooth.
Amazing. That's so
I would love to show it, but if I had known, I would have prepared, but now it's I don't want it.
That's okay. I mean, I'm sure that would be great content for your YouTube channel.
Okay, I should do that. You're right.
Ever thing. Yeah, people would love it. Absolutely. Yeah. People would love it.
I mean, it's a long time ago, and when I still was in Kreuzberg, which is an area in Bolland, an artist came by. I mean, I think it's almost 20 years ago, and I was telling him about my my little developments when I was younger, and showed this harmonic distortion circuitry to him. Wow, that sounds amazing! You should do that. You must do that. But I tried to later on to make this a little project, but it's JOMOX is just eating me because of it takes so much time. I even started to make a little wiring machine to wire these what's that called in English? Wind these coils, to wind the coils, and but like many projects, it just ended.
Well, you've got plenty.
I've got plenty of projects that have never been realized.
Well, I think you've also got plenty of projects that have been realized. You've
Yes,
got an
yes, I do.
amazing lineup
Thank
of
you.
pieces of gear that are kind of legendary within techno, within electronic
Yeah.
music, used by some amazing artists, which we'll probably talk about a bit later.
Okay.
You mentioned about fixing 909s, and you're also modifying them as well
Yeah.
for people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What sort of modifications were you doing?
Yeah, that was in 1995. Well, where I actually founded this JOMOX label. Actually, I have 30 years anniversary right now, but I'm not
Oh,
again.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Just for the brand. um, there's still some ads in the magazines that were from that time. But well, I started with MIDI interfaces, with built-in MIDI interfaces for Core Poly 6 and stuff like that hook up to
Oh,
the
nice.
keyboard. That were the first JOMOX products. And then a guy called Moritz von Oswald came to me. I knew him from the service that we did years before as well. And he said, okay, I have a 909. Maybe you can do some modifications on that. Yeah. And I went into the circuitries. Yeah, I can do some modifications. Yeah, we can change the pitch, and we can change this one and change the attack parts. And in the end, we made an external controller board, which was analog, which hooked up to the internal circuitries. He worked for a label called Basic Channel. That's pretty famous, I think.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
Basic Channel.
yeah. Maurizio. And we did this external control panel, and that was also labeled with JOMOX already, with a multi-core cable going into the 909. I think a couple of years ago, my former colleague Kai got this on his workbench, and he took a picture. It still exists, but I don't know if he had to rebuild it to the old state, to the original state or not. I don't really. I should ask him.
I'm sure it still works. Pure guitar
It did.
distortion
It
still
did.
works.
It did. Yeah, it did.
That's
Um,
amazing. So
yeah.
you learn about the inner workings of those
Right.
sort
Right.
of
Right. And that
classic
was the
machines.
time I found a little circuitry which is really stupid. It's simple. It's really simple, but it has a huge effect. And that's the harmonics. And on his 909, I found this harmonic circuitry, which I first implemented analog, with a potentiometer and driving a very simple diode distortion circuitry. This is also experience from my former guitar circuitries, diode, um, uh, distortion circuitries. Okay, they're a big part of any guitar distortions and fuzz circuitries and so on. And then the thing is, this harmonics does not distort the whole kick drum. It only distorts the VCO, which is a triangle. And actually, the former circuitry that is inside the 909 is a very simple diode sine shaper. It forms the triangle to a sine shape. But if you drive that circuitry a bit, which I did, which is very simple, um, you get this bell-like waveform. Huh? The sine form shapes into a bell form, and that produces more overtones, more harmonics, and makes it timpani-like, but not distorted. And that's the point. So you have this punch, this really heavy punch, but it's not Amsterdam, and that was the fashion at the days. They just put the 909 to the mixer and turn up the gain and full, and that was called Amsterdam. That's what I recover. because
And you're also acutely aware of the what's happening electronically at a theoretical level. You would
Sure,
also
sure.
understand this,
Yeah.
as well as like sonically,
Of
acoustically, what's
course.
happening.
Yeah, that's what I always say. I mean, I've studied electrical engineering, and okay, I knew a lot before, but I learned a lot of theory as well. And this is also part of the story. You have to have a
Yeah.
little theory.
Well, yeah, I think
First,
in your
there's
case, quite a lot.
you have to have the understanding what happens inside the circuitries to finally get an idea what it's doing sonically. But first, you have to have the theory. But many music developers just go with the ears. Well, that's fine too. But I needed
Yeah,
always to have this intellectual background. Why is that sounding so? Why is something working like it's supposed to be?
Cherry Audio is running a blockbuster sale throughout May. Get 44% off Mercury 8, Trident, P10, GX80 and Chroma plugins, priced at just $39. And, exclusive to Sonic Talk, use the coupon code SONIC44 to apply 44% discount to non-sale plugins like SH Max, Yellow Jacket, Dream Synth, CR78 and more. Just apply the coupon code SONIC44 at cherryaudio.com checkout.
yeah, and I mean, all of your products are so well regarded, and they sound fantastic.
Thank you.
Particularly like drum machines and synths alike, and you've had so many unique ideas as well. You have done a lot with the kick drums, bass drums over the
Yeah.
years. You did the MBase, and how do you create like the ability to craft kick drums? Like, what are your essential elements that make that real thumping kick drum? How do you create those things?
Yeah. Like I said, back in 1995, I did these modifications, and we offered that for other musicians as well. There's still some price lists from that days, and then I decided, together with Kai at the time, to make an own product, and that was the XBase 09. I started this in 1996 to build it, and the first units were shipped in late 96. And then I took all these experiences together and made my own circuitries, on a yeah. And I didn't copy the circuitries of Roland. That was always my intention. I didn't want to copy, and to be honest, at the time, it was called a clone, but it wasn't. And I never wanted to make a clone because I think it's boring to just to copy things, just to make things like they were. It has something like if you go to a museum or so. I'm not a biographer. I'm not somebody who is doing things that others did exactly like they did. That's a different type of person, but I'm not that kind of person. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and you also embellished. You went further with the options, like adding and embellishing
Yeah.
the characteristics, the parameters, the things that people can craft the sounds with. Just
I
expanding.
very much remember the first time when I coded the XBase 09, and I thought, of course, I wanted to have it all recordable, including the parameters, and that I called it added steps at the time. And when I first time made a sequence with a kick drum and played melodies on the kick drum, I was blown away. This is a complete different instrument now. This has nothing to do with the old 909 kick. I mean, can you hear that?
Yep.
I just hooked up the that's AlphaBase Mark II, but you have this, this kick drum. If you go turn this off, this is the normal kick drum, and if I go with the sequence. Okay, and that was for me, like a little epiphany, or that's something different, And there was some musicians that came in. I had this little, really tiny room in the basement, that was called Extended at the time, and that's why the XBase is still the XBase. It was the X in the beginning, because our musician support was called Extended, X with an X, like now the
Extended
Twitter
Service Center.
Extended Service Center, yeah.
Fantastic. You also told me about the name JOMOX, the way.
That's how the name JOMOX came up, because I was sort of struggling because I had the worst part of all my colleagues. They had the big studio electronics, which I did before as well, but I was arguing with them. Okay, let's divide the divisions so we don't compete with each other, with certain customers. So, okay, then you do the synthesizers. Okay, so I was shooting in my food because all those techno geeks, they had no money. And and then I had to do something, and that was Jürgen Michaelis, which is my name, at Extended, and that was JMX, and I just played around with a logo and filled in some dots, and they looked like O's, and so everybody said, "What's that? JOMOX? That's a funny name." And that was it. Yeah, it sounds cool, JOMOX. But so that was it. Actually, that was
a really cool name.
Thank you. It was, like the version comes to a baby. There was no intention behind that. And I thought,
often that's.
Sorry, it was like when I started this XBase 09, I thought maybe, and if I only sell 100 of them, that's fine. Okay, it's okay. I just have to do this. And I did, and it's still been the best selling thing of JOMOX.
Amazing! It's an amazing achievement, really. And I mean, how many people are behind JOMOX? Because I've obviously done a bit of research, and what I found is that you are the one guy behind JOMOX. Is that
actually
still
the one
case?
guy? Yeah, I'm a one guy. Back then, I had like 5 employees when I started, but. That was I couldn't go on with that because I just had 3 products at the time. That was the XBase 09, the Airbase 99, and then the Sunsyn, which was like a black hole. Still is. It's not a sun; it's a black hole. So.
That is phenomenal that you are the one-man operation, considering
I still have people who help me, but
there's a great video online of you showing that AlphaBase, one of the AlphaBase PCBs, which is double-sided, and it shows your PCB design of, I think it's
that's the Sunsyn voice card.
Oh, is it the Sunsyn voice? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a PCB that's about this big.
Yeah.
And it's so densely populated, the circuit board, and you're showing is it the Gerber file, like the computer representation
right,
of it?
Right, it's like a layout program.
Yeah, and you said that, I think you said something like this, designing this nearly killed me or something.
Yeah.
So
that's true. I think it's the video of the drum machine maker, isn't it?
Yes.
With the drum machine man? Yeah.
Yeah, so you're multi-talented because I mean, also like the casing, the design, the UX, the user interface, all the function, the features, the fact that you've got digital and analog happening at the same time. It's really incredible that you're like a one-man operation.
You just gave the idea to me. That was because I could work on digital and analog realm. That was why I went into the synthesizer department as a technician when I entered this local music store.
Yeah, and how do those two interact on your machines? Because I know you're so passionate about analog and about the analog sounds, but the combination of having like digital matrix modulation
Mm.
and routing and things. How do you marriage the two things in?
Well, there's proven technologies for that. It's not a miracle. I'm not doing any miracles. I'm just I think I take the best thing of both worlds together and combine them to a hybrid thing. I'm not an analog pope, and I'm fine with any digital circuitry. I have a lot of digital circuitries inside those machines, and yeah, but it's if it's up to the sound production, I I do no compromises there. And the routing matrix, for instance, is made up with uh, analog D and multiplexes. Yeah, multiplexes. They are very known. Every synth designer knows them. It's not a miracle, but I made the matrix current based, so you can mix all channels together. I think that is the intellectual part of it, to have current nodes in order to obtain routing elements. That's how they were called in the Sunsyn. I could. Sorry, I can't take you with me. I could show you if you go to the other room, but I'm on this screen here right now.
Yeah, well, if you can, I mean, if you want to take some pictures, I'd happily put some pictures in the article connected to the interview.
Later on.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I think it's just like for artists, for creators using your equipment, I think there's so much depth and thought gone into the workings, the workflow of using your equipment. Where do you get those ideas from, and do you have do people suggest features to you, or where do you sort of design your workflow and the user experience with your equipment?
That's a good question. Okay, to be honest, the drum machine thing has been invented 30 years ago, and ever since then I take the parts and improve them. But in the end, it's a chain. It's a slow evolution, but I'm not reinventing the wheel again. I wanted to say I didn't use the circuit of Roland. I put some investigation into the best sounding op amps back then, and still I use them because you were asking why do they sound so powerful, and I used some circuitries that are not very common, and but I found them to sound the best, and so that was it. And I went much into the details back then, right on this pressure thing, and on this crispiness thing, because I use bipolar op amps that have a high slew rate, and they offer this punchiness that others don't have. You know, I, I, I went into that a lot, and still I used those experiences from back then. And yeah, the other thing is, I'm very much interested into more than that. You know, somebody called me once, I'm a quantum philosopher, and that thing that was spot on, I think. And yeah, this is
That
what I'm
sounds.
a bit missing in the music, and that was the reason why I did this Resonator Neuronium more than 20 years ago. And from this on, the M resonator and the T resonator went on and still selling. These freaky filter boxes.
Yeah,
Um,
there's some
yeah,
really good videos that you've done using the Resonator Neuronium. There's a one at Super Booth you did. I think you did one at Schneiderslagen.
yeah,
And yeah, you've also done some art installations,
yeah,
art
yeah.
pieces
That's
with
what
that
I
as
want to
well.
do in future more. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, can you explain the design of the Resonator Neuronium for people that haven't seen it? What's going on inside it?
Um, at the time, I was into neural nets. I was interested in neural nets in general, and but also on what does provide life, what does provide the existence of the whole universe, and um, of course, for me, it has a very spiritual dimension. But back then, I found I found a combination when I was investigating about neural nets and the technical neural nets and how they are realized. I found that um, the transfer function of a neuron in the technical realm is like a differential amp. And what if we use the differential amp and a Moog filter is a differential amp? It's a very, very nice circuitry. I mean, Bob Moog was a genius, literally. This is such a huge design. This simple Moog filter, the ladder that combines all the poles that are switched in series and just using one differential amp. This is a great idea. And I thought, okay, yeah, if we have a neuron and the transfer function is like a differential amp, why wouldn't we use it as a resonating neuron? That was the idea. I was watching a documentation on a biologist physicist who said something about system theory and feedbacks and loops, and that's a basic thing in life, in the whole universe. And then I had this like a wake up call, like an epiphany. Yeah, a resonant neuron. That's it. Yeah, that should be the case. And so I thought, okay, what's the least possible neural net I can realize with analog circuitries, which is, of course, awkward. but And I found out, okay, it's six. They have to be all digitally controllable. The path between the connections, they have to be storable and connectable. So this is a huge pile of digital analog potentiometers and these Moog circuitries that I changed them a bit to make it suitable for my purposes. But the basic thing is a Moog ladder, you know. And then I just combined them, and this is how it creates sounds by feedback and by resonance.
Yeah, and it's got a huge diversity in terms of the sound
Yeah,
that can come out of it.
yeah,
It's very unique device.
yeah, yeah. An editor of a magazine came to me when I brought it out, and he was born in Mozambique. He grew up in Africa, although he looked like a Spain. But and then he said, I showed it to him, and then she, what's that? Does it come from out of this machine? I never heard anything organic like this. And he was used to the animals in the jungle, and it sounds so natural. When I was developing this thing, in the living room in a place where I used to live at that time, I had the windows open on the balcony, and the birds came by. They thought this was a colleague.
It's like part of your R&D team.
Yeah, definitely. Much more versatile.
Yeah, I mean, the equipment that you've released. You mentioned the XBase 09, and you went on to develop the XBase 999, and the XBase 888, and MBase, M.Brane. Such a huge variety of products that have, I mean, they're kind of seminal pieces of equipment for many producers around the world.
Okay.
M-Resonator.
M.Brane was also a little thing, you know. And the M.Brane, then I made the ModBase 09, the ModBrane 11.
Mod
FM, finally.
All fantastic. I mean, I know from when we come and shoot videos with you at Superbooth, for example, everybody loves your stuff. They love it. They love the demos. You perform the demos so well. It's just like going to a techno club for 15 minutes.
That's probably the thing. Yeah. I remember very good when that was 1990, when I still was working at that local store I mentioned before. Back then, already famous DJ came in, DJ Rock. I don't know if anybody knows him, but in Berlin he was pretty famous, you know. DJ Rock came in and was carrying a 303. Wanted me to repair it. Do you know? You don't know this 303? Of course I did, but in another relation, you know. This is the E guitar of the 1990s, you know. You have to know this is the E guitar of the 1990s, you know. So that was funny. Yeah, and it was so ridiculous, you know. In the 1980s, nobody wanted to have this thing. I remember another music store in another area in Berlin where in the window there was always a 303 line. It was a bass line, you know, intended for, you know, guitar players to have some bass line playing along with them. But then later on, the techno guys and the acid guys came up and discovered this thing for something totally different, you know. And then the prices went up so immensely. It's
hugely influential machine. But in terms of like famous people who have used your gear as well, in terms of famous people there are some listed on your website, but I found others.
Okay, yeah, probably is. I'm not into that. I'm actually absolutely not into that because I only get into touch with the people if they have a problem. You know, that's the problem. You know.
Unless, of course, I think you had because you've listed Martin Gore as someone who's used your equipment, and I believe you did meet them, or you went to see their show.
That was one time. Yeah, I was in the VIP lounge at the time. That was 2009. He played in the Olympic Stadium in Berlin, and some former colleague asked me, "I want to come with me." Yeah, sure, I would. I think Andreas Schneider was there, and he pulled us there, and then. Indeed, after show party, and I was introduced to Martin Gore, and he came to me and shook my hand and was thanks for making the 888. I love it a lot. That was like what's that in English?
Pat on the back.
Yes,
yeah. That's a big pat on the back. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it in so many people's studios. Like for example, Anthony Rother is someone who I know who loves your stuff. I see it.
Okay, you know Anthony Rother. Yeah. He's using a lot of my stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's become so integral to electronic music. Listed on your website, you have Prince, you have Left Field who've used your things. Prodigy, Trent Reznor.
Trent Reznor used also Resonator Neuronium a lot, I think.
Oh, cool. And there is also Aphex Twin released an album, and he listed all of the gear that was on the album, and there's JOMOX stuff in that list.
Okay, yeah. But
so clearly, you've done a few things. You've done, you've done some very good things, man, over the years.
Thank you.
Clearly,
thank you.
Introducing the Novation Launch Control XL3, a control surface for your entire setup. Get hands-on with your entire workflow. Launch Control XL's 8 precision faders, 24 endless rotary encoders, and 16 assignable buttons give you tactile control over all major doors, right out of the box with instant visual feedback. And with intuitive custom mapping for all your plugins and hardware, Novation Launch Control XL makes an ideal studio centerpiece. Control any setup, go deep with a single device, or get to grips with your entire production, mixdown or performance. Whether you're in the box, hardware-based, or a mixture of the two, Novation's Launch Control XL is a creative controller that suits your needs.
Yeah, do you, in terms of like putting the products out, and one side is designing it and testing it, and the whole user interface and workflow, but also the design of the way it looks, like the appearance. You have this amazing, I guess nowadays you'd call it an IP, the way that your stuff looks. Where did that design come from? Because I think you clearly have amazing sort of design skills as well as electronics.
Do you think so? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. But I'm very humble about that, because I'm not a big designer. I love type fonts, and I love scribing. I wouldn't claim myself to be a big designer, Mostly the things, they just, I make the electronics, and then I put the case around it so it fits somehow. Of course, no, I don't want to see myself too bad, but of course, the proportions have to fit. And many times I use the golden proportion to have the relations, but not on the XBase 09. That was just like a DNA 4 sheet. It's a sheet of paper. But basically, these simple things are mostly the best. I think it was just a sheet of paper,
Fantastic. Yes.
So that's it. There's no miracle on that.
But it seems like your equipment's almost come fully formed since the late 90s. You just had everything. You delivered everything that everyone wanted from like in the 90s. It was so
That's
fully
true.
formed. What you created so early is very special, I think.
Okay, thank you. Still, sometimes, I feel bad about some things in the XBase 09 because nowadays I would do it totally differently. But this were a lot of some experiences later on. I would do things much better now. But it doesn't matter. You're right. It doesn't matter. I just did it, and I did it how I did it, and that was it. And just push it out. And you have to have a certain, because with the XBase 09, I had to finalize this. It had to be ready. It had to be. And okay, maybe it wasn't perfect, but it did what it did, and it just hit a point at the time. It hit. What do you say? How do you say that?
Like zeitgeist.
Yeah, that's what we say in German. It hit the zeitgeist. Yeah,
Yeah, because I guess it allowed people to extend those kicks, those iconic sounds,
Yeah,
extend them and turn them into bass lines, subsonic,
yeah,
with like subsonic warbles
yes.
as well as the kick.
Probably that's also a point because my things are pretty individual because I tend to have huge ranges, you know. Many people hate me about that because they want to have sweet spots all over the place, you know, but I give it a shit. I have to have the possibility to go subsonic or to go pretty high, you know, and everything has its meaning and has potential for creating great sounds. If you're limited, the outcome is limited, you know. But you have to, of course, you have to get into the steps and learn things like an instrument. Sometimes it's just, you know, on the T-Resonator, it's a good example. You have to learn it like an instrument because if you tweak the knob a little to the left more, it sounds totally different. But you have to learn what each parameter does, and they influence each other. And but you have this huge range of possibilities. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Well, I think certainly the Sonic State audience love it, and I think a lot of the industry love what you do. And
Thank
you're
you.
also very good when you're demoing the equipment, like I mentioned at Super Booth.
Okay.
And there's lots of videos online where you're demoing them.
Mhm.
You're able to show how wide a range the sounds can carry. Like I think there's a video where you're using the AlphaBase 2,
Mhm.
and it's with Toman, maybe Voltage Labs, is it? And you develop the sound so well from being, maybe a low end subsonic to being like an FM sort of
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
bell like sound.
Right. 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 Right.
And
Right.
people
Right.
love that. I think creators love that. Producers love that ability to go from one thing to the other with one piece of equipment.
Of course, I do understand also people, they have to have a production, they have to have a deadline, and they just want to step through sounds and that work, and they know they work. If I do music or recordings myself, I realize, okay, to fit into a mix, you have to have more smooth sounds, not this crazy, all blasting stuff, you know. And I know, but most products have the capability to get things stored, which is a very important thing. And yeah, they can create things.
And like automation as well. You have a lot
Yeah,
of your devices
yeah,
allow you to
yeah.
record the
To
movements and
record the
store that
movement.
within
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pattern, which is so powerful.
yeah,
It breathes so much life
yeah.
into equipment, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, and you've done multiple versions of some of your equipment, like the AlphaBase. You have Mark 1 and Mark 2. You have the Moonwind, Mark 1 and Mark 2.
Mhm.
The Sunsyn. Yeah, what
The
what
Mark
what drives
One,
you?
the Mark Two never saw the light of day.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
what I've written down too.
yeah.
What drives you to create a new version? What point do you get to where you go, okay, I'm gonna do version 2 now?
Like an artist that has to pay his rent, uh, to go on, to move on, to have a new experience, to uh, to grow. I think I personally want to grow in any aspect of my life, you know, and the work is one aspect of my life, you know, and yeah. Um of course, I'm working in a part of music electronics where what's next? What's the new thing? You know, yeah, I've put 2 years of work into that thing, and you show it on the Super Booth or some other show, and okay, this is nice. What's next? I could
Yeah.
bump it into the face because you know I'm just really almost burned out, exhausted, and it was a lot of work, a lot of stress, to realize these things. But this is how the market works and how the people are, the new, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. But I think I right now calm down a bit and finalize the things that are out now. And
I'm just sort of wondering in terms of, like, let's say the difference between the AlphaBase 1 and 2, like what features did you add to expand on the idea between the Mark 1 and the Mark 2?
Yeah, that were some things that users had on their wish list, and things that bothered me myself, for instance, the panning circuitry was bullshit in the first version. Sorry. You can't publish this. You have to be beep. Probably. There's some small, tiny improvements. That the noise has an own VCA, because when I made the AlphaBase Mark 1, I just thought, okay, having noise is great. It's a great additional feature, and but later on I realized it's just, every hybrid channel is actually a synth voice of its own, and and therefore it makes sense to have the noise adjustable. Sorry.
Yeah. And also in the XBase, the AlphaBase, you've got, for example, you've got the ability to mix in like a click sound to have like a real edgy sort of punch, isn't it? Or is that the noise circuit?
What do you mean on the kick drum?
Yeah, that you can give. Is it like there's like a click or a crackle that you can add to give it some very serious attack on the kick?
You mean the pulse? The pulse.
Is it? Yeah, that could be the one. Yeah.
Can you hear that? Can
Yes.
you hear it? That's the pulse. That's the pure pulse part. And then you can add noise. Could also make a kick drum with just noise. Oh, that's just noise in the attack. But also you could smooth it with the EQ. So then you have, if you go with high with, you turn up EQ, you don't hear the noise anymore because the noise is filtered as first. But still the pulse part is leaking through. Okay.
Wow.
I hope the recording is okay because of little problems with the buffering.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I just love the sound of it's so smooth the way your equipment sounds, especially in the low end. I mean, you've really refined that. You've really refined
right.
how that sounds.
Yeah, that's the right word for it. I refined it.
And tell us a little bit about your art pieces, your the sort of experimental. I'm just trying to find. Oh yeah, your experimental sound objects. If you could tell us a little bit about those. There's a thing that I saw called the vertical skip.
That was with what's his name?
In Copenhagen.
In Copenhagen, yeah. I worked for another artist. Sorry, I'm so bad with names because it's a long time ago. Yeah, I wanted to go more into arts back then, and I did the sensor electronics for them.
And what was that art
vertical
piece?
rope? What? Sorry.
Yeah, so it's a vertical rope with if you can describe the piece.
It was amazing. It was absolutely underrated, and the guy was really disappointed. He used to work for Olafur Eliasson. Maybe you know him. It's a pretty famous artist. He's has a studio in Berlin Mitte at Pfefferberg, and there we went. Also, so bad with names, you know.
I'm bad with names as well.
Anyway, and they had this idea of the rope, a lighted rope, driven by a plate with an extender, and creating these forms, which was really cool. And the gallery was 12 meters high, I think. It was really high. It was a former church or so, and a huge building. And I did the sensor electronics for them. So the people could go into the room, and then the rope would start vibrating and create these lighting sculptures. You know, that was really cool. But in the end, it didn't get too much attention, and he was really disappointed. We did a lot of work. On that point, I was more on the helping thing, you know, more on the helping point, you know. I did the sensors and the motor electronics and, you know, the driving circuits.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, it looks beautiful, and hopefully we can now bring some more attention to it in 2025.
Yeah, I'm working on stuff, beautiful. But I can't say too much because it's still unfinished business, and there's.
You also have is it the Alaska synth?
Akasha synth. Ah, okay. Yeah. That is an object. Yeah, Akasha. Akasha means space.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this is the memory of the world. You could say Akasha is the memory of the world. Yeah, I'm very much, and even since 2 months, even more. I'm very much into yoga. And the true Vedic yoga sutras, and they were really, really, really very much forward at the time, ahead of their time, so much ahead of their time. The sutras that are more than 3,000 years old, they apply for today so much, and this is amazing, and it works.
Fantastic.
Okay, yeah, and. The idea was there's only 5 platonic bodies, regular bodies. 2 are formed of triangles. 1 is formed of a square, and 1 is formed of pentacles. And that's the dodecaeder. And in the Platonic philosophy, the icosaeder was referred to water, to the 4 elements, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The octaeder was referred to fire, I think. Then the pyramid is referred to. No, not the pyramid. That's a tetraeder. The tetraeder. It's regular bodies, you know. Every part of the body is made of the same simple shape. Triangles, squares, and pentacles. Pentacles or pentaeders?
I think pentagon.
Sorry, pentagon. Yeah. The square is referred to Earth. That's the cube. The cube is referred to Earth, and the dodecaeder is referred to spirit. That was the point, you know. And the spirit you could translate with Akasha in Vedic philosophy, or space, the real space.
And so the actual synth itself was it the Resonator Neuronium inside the engine for that piece?
No, they are. I wanted to continue this idea of interconnecting particles, you know, and they have different circuitries to the Resonator Neuronium, but similar. But also they add up any signal from the other modules, from the other parts of the grid. I wanted to form. I have made a whole bunch of shapes, triangles, squares, and pentagons to form geometric sounding objects. And one of these was the Akasha synth. I wanted to continue this, and I still want to, but as we say in Germany, the chimney has to smoke. That means you have to go on. Business has to go on. It has to go on. It has to go on. So the art is, but it's something that I want to do.
Great. Yeah, you seem to be quite passionate about the art.
Yeah, I definitely am. Yeah, definitely I am. Sometimes I'm painting. This is from me as well.
Fantastic!
Thank you. There's more, but I'm not a great painter, but sometimes I have to paint, and I say I have to move color, some color.
We're just going to move some color for a while. Yeah, I think that's really good, isn't it? To have those other forms of expression that are not what we need to do to keep the chimney smoking. What do you like painting with? What sort of medium?
Well, canvas and acrylic colors. Very simple. But also I use some objects, whatever it is, a sponge or something. I just do some action paintings and just smash the color on the canvas, and I love that.
That's really cool, man.
It's so funny because for months you don't do anything, sometimes even years, and then all of a sudden it has to come out, and you just put that down, and it's great.
I totally feel that, man. It's something that is great escapism for myself too.
Oh, cool! That's great. I love that.
Oh wow, very nice.
This is one that's
fantastic
on the workspace and the workstation next door. This was a mirror. I once took I don't know if you know this this saying, if you crack a mirror, it's 7 years of bad fortune. Know this?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
And I just reworked this in my paintings.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's really nice. When did you do that?
Oh, it's not that long ago, but I think it was 5 or 6 years ago.
Cool, man.
Show me yours.
Yeah, so this is two digital cameras on a canvas.
Cool.
With paint.
Oh, that looks great. I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's two digital cameras.
Oh, cool.
Glued to the canvas.
Cool.
And then I poured yellow paint at the top.
It's real cameras. It's part of cameras.
It's digital cameras. Yeah, digital
cool.
camera parts.
Got it. Yeah, great. Yeah, I couldn't see that. Fantastic. Yeah, I love that.
Epoxy resin to make it
shiny. Yeah. I have resin too over there. I have something with resin as well. I wanted to make a whole thing with resin, because I was so frustrated on the Sunsyn. I wanted to put one whole Sunsyn into resin, So this is the user interface. Hold on.
It's a really fun medium. Yeah, grab it.
Sorry that it took so long. I had to disconnect
it.
It's an MBase in resin.
Oh, wow.
Dirty.
And how did you create that? How did you create it?
What? Well, it's just a bowl. I just put it in a bowl, the resin. It has a crack in the resin that looks nice. And it even works. That's the funniest thing about it. I can't trigger it with audio, but you can see that the lights still work. No, but it works. Wow. It has a MIDI cable out there, and you can use it, but you can't touch it.
Wow, that's amazing. What's the piece of equipment inside it?
MBase 11.
The MBase 11. Wow.
The kick drum.
It would be great. Yeah, it would be great if you could photograph this, and we can put it in the article somewhere. That looks really nice. It looks like an alien from an alien sort of spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are lots of crossover experiences.
Yes. Yes, and I'm working on some things, but I can't tell you too much because this is my Secret. Whenever I spoke too much about a project, I didn't realize in the end. But
Okay, so
I can say so much. It's related to body. It takes some body functions, and you can interconnect with different bodies. Maybe like in a dance performance or things like that.
cool. That's really interesting, man. I
But
can't
it's
wait to see that.
not finished, not finished. But I think it's gonna be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think are people going to be able to see it like this year, next year? Do you have a...
I hope to have it this year still, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. It's been great to speak to you, Jürgen. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Chris, so much.
Yeah, we love what you do at Sonic State, and I know there's so many people that find your equipment so much fun to use, and yeah, thank you for everything that you've made over the years and continue to make.
Thank you. And thanks for having me, of course.
Yeah, and I guess you're working on updates still. I can see that you're still doing updates with your equipment.
There have to be, even with the Alpha Mark 1, there have to be some updates that cover some of the new developments of the Mark 2 and the older products as well. Some people were kind of mad with me, but I got much better now. Ever since I did this this training that I mentioned before a couple of months ago, which is really great. That's related to Yoga Sutras. They have been newly translated from Sanskrit into German. And that's a guy who has a lot of experience, but the translations were often wrong. And an important little thing was missing or misinterpreted. And this is how you can come very easily and reliable and endurable into inner peace and happiness.
Wow.
And to be really relaxed, And this is kind of life-changing for me as well,
That's fantastic. That's
hopefully
so good to hear, man.
I'll be more relaxed in future.
And where can people find out more about this if they're interested in becoming?
They are planning to make an international thing of this, but right now it's still only in German. It's called Gehirnsoftware. Translated, it would be brain software, because the guy, he used to work with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the guru that was with the Beatles,
Mm-hmm.
And he used to perform transcendental meditation for many, many years, but didn't have the promised outcomes that are promised in the sutras, in the city exercises. And then he did his translations again. He learned Sanskrit for 10 years and then retranslated it from the original texts, and then found some things that didn't fit so well with the common interpretations and translations, and then found now the cities work, and now getting into silence works, and all you have is to enjoy the silence. And there we are back at Depeche Mode, which was
Brilliant.
a great concert, and I love them so much. Of course, enjoy the silence. That should be my last sentence here.
Cool. Yeah.
It's really
Well, thank you
cool.
very much. I think everybody requires more peace and
Yes.
less anger in their lives, especially
Especially in these times we live in.
It's exactly. So yeah, it's great that you're doing that, man. And yeah, thank you once again for the conversation today.
Thank you for having me, and have a great day.
Oh, great to speak to Jürgen. He really is one of the most fun booths to go to if you ever go to Super Booth. It's just a techno fest for the whole 3 days, and he's such a lovely guy, He's such a wonderful guy. Not only does he demo his products well, he just designs amazing products inside and out, as you've heard, pretty much single-handedly. And don't underestimate how influential his stuff's been, you know, like from the MBase and beyond, you know. He's really shaped the sound of techno, I think. And yeah, hugely commended, hugely talented person, and it's great to speak to him. Okay, that's the end of this episode, but I would like to recommend an episode from my previous series, which you might enjoy. This one is with Andrew Huang, YouTuber Andrew Huang, who I'm sure you're familiar with. I caught up with him a couple of years ago now, but we had a great conversation about his career and his career trajectory, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. Thank you once again for listening. Don't forget you can support Sonic State on Patreon. It really helps us to keep doing what we do in these ad-struggling times. And yeah, tune into another episode in a couple of weeks. I'll see you again soon.